Hi, and welcome to episode 67 of the Noble Character Crafts podcast. My name is Amy, and I am coming to you from eastern Nebraska, where I live with my husband and our 5 children. Today is Friday, May 24th, 2019. This is a podcast all about my crafty life, and today I have knitting, crocheting, and hand-dyed yarn to share with you all. Thank you so much for joining me. A huge welcome to any new or returning viewers. I hope that you really enjoyed this episode. You can find me online on Instagram and Etsy at Noble Character Crafts. You can find me on Ravelry at Noble Character. And I also have a group for this podcast in Ravelry under Noble Character Crafts Podcast. In that group, you will be able to find the show notes for this episode as well as previous episodes. You can also get in contact with me through my email at noblecharactercrafts@yahoo.com. On my dress form in the background, you can see my Transitions shawl, which I knitted last year out of my own hand-dyed yarn, Noble Character Crafts yarn, in 4 different colorways. There is in there Thought, Integrity, Humble, and Good Sense. So you can certainly check out my Ravelry page for any other information, but that is a beautiful design by Cam, who is known as Hand Knit by Cam on Ravelry and Instagram. So definitely go check out her patterns. She has a few beautiful designs on Ravelry. And before I forget, I wanted to let you all know that I was able to gift the Brioche-licious shawl that I knitted for a lady that I go to church with. I was able to gift that to her a few weeks ago, and she loved it, and she wore it to church last week. And so I'm very grateful that I was able to give that to her, and I hope that she will enjoy it for a long time to come. Thank you so much for all of you who were interested in finding out if I was able to gift it to her or not and what she thought of it. And of course she thought it was beautiful because that is just such a wonderful design. I am still thinking that someday I will knit myself another one. So before I get started showing off what I have been working on since I last recorded, I have an exciting giveaway to announce. I was so fortunate to have won a giveaway by Emma Potter, who is known as Potter and Bloom on Instagram and YouTube and Ravelry. And she recently published a new design publication that includes 4 designs, and it's called The Hanging Rock Designs Volume 2. And I was able to win a copy of that publication through her YouTube channel. I had already purchased the ebook, so she went ahead and graciously just reimbursed me for the money that, I paid for it. And then she also wanted to offer a copy of her publication to the podcast as a giveaway as well. So I was so honored and grateful for her being willing to offer that as a prize for this podcast. So thank you so very much, Emma. I want to highlight the different patterns that she has in this publication because they are just so great. I just love every one of them. There are, like I said, 3 main patterns, but when you buy the ebook, then you get an additional 4th pattern. So the first pattern is this beautiful clutch. It is called the Shimla, and it is crocheted, and it's got a beautiful stitch that gives it this wonderful texture on the outside, and then she also has these great tassels on this that are hung on the side of it, and I just absolutely love this design. I think it would be a really cute purse, or you could even use it as a project bag or anything, to keep your makeup in, or anything, of course, that you can use a bag for. This would be such a cute bag. So I really love that design. And then another design in the publication is called the Mayura socks. And these, I just love the lacy pattern on the front of these socks. And then there's also a bit of that, a type of lacy pattern that runs down the center of the back of the socks as well, which is so cute. I am really excited to make these socks as well. And then I think probably my favorite design from the collection is the Ambala, which is a shawl, and it is crocheted as well, and it is made out of mercerized cotton thread, and I've never made anything with mercerized cotton thread, and so I would really like to try it in that. And it's a beautiful long wrap, and it's made using a pineapple chevron stitch, which I've never done before, and I think it's absolutely gorgeous. And so I'm really the most excited to make that pattern. And then the bonus pattern is called the Ambala Remixed, and that is just a different version of the Ambala shawl, and it is intended to be made using a gradient cake so that you can use up a whole cake and see how that gradient is worked up. And that, I believe, well, in the Ambala shawl, that is made using both the pineapple chevron stitch and then a different lace pattern, kind of striped throughout. And then the Ambala Remixed, I believe, is just the pineapple chevron stitch throughout the whole thing. So anyway, there's those 4 gorgeous patterns included with the bundle, and I am so excited to offer that as a giveaway on this for this YouTube channel. I am going to be hosting that giveaway over on the Ravelry group, so if you are interested in entering, please head on over to the Ravelry group. And since this collection was designed with summer in mind, all of the patterns were made that, you know, they're made some of them are made using cotton, and the socks are very lacy. So the intention of these designs was with summer in mind. And so I would like you to answer the question of what is your favorite summer activity, as we are getting closer to summer in the Northern Hemisphere every day, and it is certainly feeling more and more like summer around here. So I am excited to see what you all have to say about your favorite summer activities. And again, Emma, thank you so much for your generous donation to the podcast. I absolutely love your designs, and I'm so grateful that you were willing to offer this giveaway to the podcast. So thanks again. I have a few finished objects that I would like to share with you all. The first one is kind of not really a finished object. It's just a modification that I made to this beautiful Stoneham sweater, which was the Stoneham poncho by Diana Walla, and I modified the pattern to add some sleeves to it. And after wearing it a few times, I was continuing to pull on the sleeves because they were still a little bit too short. After I had first made it, I realized that I thought that it was 2 inches too short. So I ripped back and added 2 inches to the main body of the sleeve here. And so I had an extra 2 inches. Well, after wearing it for a little while, I realized I wanted 2 more inches. So instead of ripping back to the main body of the arm, I just ripped out the bind off edge and added 2 extra inches to the cuff so that it would be a more comfortable fit for me. I, of course, won't be wearing this for quite some time now because it's way too warm to be wearing a turtleneck sweater. This was made in DK weight yarn. I used my own hand-dyed yarn for this as well on my Josephine base. The main color is my solid black night colorway, and then the 2 contrast colors are Sweetness and Gaze. So that was really a very quick addition to this sweater. It took me only an afternoon to add a couple of inches to each cuff. So that was an easy fix, but I'm really glad that I did that because I think I'm gonna be a lot more happy and more comfortable wearing this sweater come fall. And the other finished object that I have to share with you is the Celtic knot felted purse that I made. This is a design by Cindy Pillen, and I'm really happy with it. It turned out a lot bigger than I thought it would. I didn't realize it was going to be quite so big. I think, I should have looked. I think that mine did turn out bigger than what the pattern called for, and I probably could have felted it some more. I ended up felting it by running it through our washing machine on a hot cycle 4 times, and I ran it through our dryer in a heavy heat. That's our regular heat probably, for 2 cycles. So honestly, I was kind of like, that's enough. I probably could have run it through the washer or the dryer some more, but I just wanted to be done with it. So you can still kind of see a little bit of definition in the stitches, and I think that when you're felting, you're supposed to not be able to see the stitches anymore. And it does have a bit of, I have stuff in it right now, but it does have some give. It's not the picture on the Ravelry page looks like it stands up on its own pretty well, and mine doesn't very much, but I like it anyway. I think I'm happy with it. I don't know if I could try to felt it now that I've got it all put together with the knot on here. I probably could though. I could try to maybe felt it again if I wanted to, but I think I'm happy with it. I'm actually really happy that it turned out larger than I had thought it would, because I don't have a larger project bag, and that's what I'm planning to use this for, is just a project bag for my knitting. And this will be a great sweater sized project bag, I think. So I'm really happy with the size of it, and it's the biggest bag I have, so I'm happy about it. Okay, so this was made using bulky weight yarn. I used Knit Picks Simply Wool in the Wilbur colorway, and that is 100% eco wool. I used the recommended needle size, which are US 10s, 6mm. It was made from the bottom up, and then you made these 4 straps individually, and then you stitch them, 2 straps, you stitch them together here at the top. Now that was a really long, it's an I-cord. The straps are made using an I-cord, and that was really long. If I were to make this again, which I don't think I will, but I would recommend to anybody who might want to make this pattern that you wouldn't need quite that long of a strap. I think that it would have been fine with straps only like this long probably, but it does make it easy to get in, but I don't really think you need quite so long of a strap on that. And then also you make an additional I-cord separately for this Celtic knot. And again with that, I had close to 2 feet, maybe 1.5 feet of extra I-cord that I didn't end up using. Which of course it was nice to be able to have plenty when trying to finagle this Celtic knot, but it was way too long. I don't know, it didn't need to be that long. So you could keep that in mind too if you want to make this pattern. It was a fun pattern, but it took a lot longer than I thought it would. I thought this was going to be a quick and easy project, and of course I didn't work on it very monogamously at all, but it just took a lot longer than I thought it would. The directions are very, very clear. I had no problems with that. Very clear instructions on how to make this Celtic knot. It is, after it's all felted, then you sew on this knot. So it slides up and down really easily, and it can keep your bag pretty well closed. Still you could, if you had anything small in there, it could go out those holes, but it's pretty well sealed up. So yeah, I'm really happy with it. And yeah, I'm glad that I tried it because I was just really curious about how this was made, and it's fun to have a bag that I've knitted for my knitting project. So anyway, I'm really, really happy with it, and yeah, I recommend the pattern. I would recommend those modifications that I've mentioned of making, you wouldn't have to make so much of the I-cords, but otherwise I'm really super happy with it. All right, so in here is my first work in progress. So I will just go on to that. In here, I have moved my stripified shawl because it was getting way too big for the other bag that I had it in. So this was perfect timing that I needed a bigger bag and had this one to put it in. This is a pattern by Stephen West, and it is enormous. I am on the last section, but it's taking a very, very long time as the stitch count is ridiculous right now. It's between, I think it's probably, well, when I'm done with this last section, I'll be at 731 stitches. I think that for sure, well, I'm pretty sure that that is the most stitches I've ever had on the needles. Right now, I'm between 659 and 731, so I'm somewhere in the upper 600s at the very least. So anyway, it's taking a very, very long time to make these last rows. And of course, it's bunched up on this cord, even though this is a very long cord. All right, I am using scrap yarn for this project, all in these beautiful purple tones. I just had all of these colors in my scraps, and so I thought that it would be fun to make something using all of them together. And I'm loving how this is turning out. I'm gonna love wearing this, I think. So it started from the top here, as you can probably guess, and it is, I don't think I've ever made a shawl this shape where you get to, like, there was one row where I increased over 100 stitches on one row, I think. I'm pretty sure it was recently, if I can find it. I don't suppose I will be able to find it. Oh yeah, here it is. Yeah, between row 30, well, anyway, between the last row on the 10th section and the first row on the last section that I'm on now, I increased over 100 stitches on one row. So I think, I don't know what that shape is called, but anyway, I've never done a shape like this. Maybe it's semicircle? I don't know. Anyway, I think that's right. Anyway, so it increased, you know, you go for a while and you're not really increasing by very much, but then you get an increased row like that, and wow, that really slows things down a bit, of course. But I'm really, really enjoying working on this. I am trying to stay committed to at least do a couple rows a day, so that, which of course one row takes quite a while to go across, but I really want to stay focused on this so that it will get done. Even though I have cast on a few new things, I'm trying to still stay focused on this. There for a while I had 5 works in progress at once, which is very unusual for me. And I stayed committed to working on at least one row of each project every day, so that I would continue, you know, so I wouldn't leave one behind. So I'm continuing with that. Right now I only have 4 works in progress actively that I'm working on, and so I'm trying to work on all 4 of those at each day a little bit at a time. I'm using the recommended needle size, which are US 5 3.75 millimeter needles, and all of the needles that I use are Chowgu red lace. And this is all fingering weight yarn. Many different dyers yarns are in here. I can't name all of them because, well, I don't know a lot of them because I got a lot of them through swaps. But quite a few of these are my own hand-dyed yarns as well, but I'm not going to go through each of them because there's just way too many to name. But I am just using, every section is striped, as the name suggests, stripified. Every section is striped. So I'm just using up all of the bits I have in my bag here. And I really only have the 2 that I'm working with right now are, this is from Tristan of Dragon Horde Yarn. And this is my own hand-dyed yarn on a one-of-a-kind colorway. So I'm using those 2 right now, and then the only other 2 that I have left are these 2, which I actually did already use a little bit in this section right here. But once I got to this 11th last section, I wanted to switch the colors to define that new pattern. And so anyway, I'm gonna run out of this in a few more rows. I'll run out of those 2 colors, and I will switch back to these 2, which this one is my hand-dyed yarn, my Intelligent Heart colorway. And this is a one-of-a-kind, though it's very similar to my Honor colorway. It was when I was first trying to get my Honor colorway. This was a trial run, but it's a little bit more pink than my actual Honor colorway, but it's pretty close. Anyway, when I first started this project, I had shown you all 3 other skeins of yarn that I have on backup if I need them, but I'm not really sure if I'm going to need them. There is an I-cord bind off for this shawl, and again, it's 731 stitches, so it's going to take quite a bit of yarn to get across that. So I'm not sure how that will work out, but I'm thinking maybe I'll be able to get away with not using any of that other yarn that I have on hand, but I have it in case I need it. This is the progress keeper right here, showing where I was last time I recorded, which was 2 weeks ago. So I'm happy with that progress. It doesn't look like a whole lot for 2 weeks, but of course you have to take in mind the width of the shawl. So it's a good good chunk of knitting. So I'm happy with that. So I'm not sure how much longer this will take me. It, of course, seems like I'm almost done, but I'm not really. My next work in progress is in this Tuft Woolens project bag that I got with one of my orders quite a while ago, like a year and a half ago, I think. I think it was on a Black Friday in 2017. I think that's when I got it. And in here are the socks that I'm working on. These are just a simple pair of ribbed socks. I cast on 64 stitches. I'm using US 1 2.25 millimeter needles. And I am just doing a 3x1 rib for the entirety of the sock. The yarn that I'm using is Regia All Round Color. And the colorway number is 4960. This is a yarn that I received from a podcast viewer. She sent me a package, and so I'm so happy to be working up this yarn. I striped in my Bare Lambs colorway for 3 stripes up here at the top just to add a little interest, and I also used that on the heel flap, and I'll be using that on the toes as well. So as you can see, I made a long leg. That's what I like best. I did a slip stitch heel flap. I like that as well the best. It fits my foot the best. And yeah, so I've already done the gusset decreases, so I'm just knitting along on the foot until I get to the toe. So these are coming along really nicely. I have gotten a lot of progress made on these. This is the place where I was last time I recorded, so I've been able to work up quite a bit there. So that's good. But these are my project that I take along with me whenever I go anywhere, because they are very easy and mindless and little to be able to tote around with me wherever I go. So that's that. I'm very excited to show you this next work in progress. I can't remember the last time I showed it on the podcast, but I wanted to show you all my progress on my Stripey Afghan. And I just love this so much. This makes me so happy. And I just love this project so much. And every time I get this to a point where it is a full hexagon, I like to show it off on the podcast. So here it is. Oh my goodness, I love it. Isn't it great? I just stare at it and imagine how wonderful it's going to be when it's an actual, it's big enough to be a blanket. But right now it's big enough to cover my lap when I'm working on it, so I absolutely love it. It's so fun to look through all the colors, and I just love it so much. Okay, this is made out of all fingering weight yarn, and I am not following a published pattern. I do have notes in my Ravelry, on my Ravelry page, for how I make these hexies. I am joining them as I go, so I don't have any ends to weave in. Here's the back side of it, and you can see it's all nice and neat. And I think one of the best things about this project is that you can use the tiniest bit of scrap yarn. So I just have this basket that is packed full of tiny little scraps. I mean, here is one, and sometimes I'm not quite sure if it'll be big enough, but I'm pretty sure that is big enough to go around the third round on these hexagons is the one that takes the least amount of yarn. So as you can see, probably I'm using one color for the first and second round, and then for the third round, that takes the least amount of yarn. It's less than 1 gram. I can't weigh, I've tried to weigh how much it takes to do, even the center takes less than 1 gram, but the third row takes the least. So that's so nice to be able to use up every tiny little bit of yarn that I have on hand. And I love putting the different colors together. It's so much fun. So I started in the middle. This was the first completed hexagon that I had done, and then every time I'm just adding all the way around. So that's what I've done. Last time I showed you I had 6 hexagons across each side, and right now I have 7. So it's working up really nicely. I'm using a C hook, which is 2.75 millimeter, and this is a clover, which is actually the only clover hook that I have, but it's really nice. I like it a lot. And yeah, I just couldn't be happier with this. I love adding a little hexagon. It only takes me 20 minutes to add 1 hexagon. I did time myself just because I was curious. And yeah, they work up pretty quickly and it's very gratifying. Now, it's a little bit, if I actually add up how many hours I put into this by counting each one, that's a little overwhelming, but I love it. So that's what we don't craft because it's fast, of course. We craft because we love it and we enjoy it. So it doesn't matter how many hours we put into it. I love it. Oh, I think it's so great. I can't wait to, well, it's going to be years before this thing is done, I know, but I just love looking at it and working on it. So yeah. I think that's all I have to say about that. I can fold it now. That's always so nice when you can fold it. I mean, it's pretty little still, but it's so cute. I love it. Okay. My next 2 works in progress are both new cast-ons, so I'm really excited about these as well. The first one is being held in my Tanny Casey project bag, which is so beautiful for spring and summertime to use especially. And on there I also have an enamel pin from Twill and Print, which has a row counter on it, which is very, very handy for this particular project. I am making the Summer Dawn, which is a cardigan by Andrea Black. And this is a new to me designer, but I found this pattern and I thought it was beautiful and it met all the requirements that I had for this project. So I have had these 2 skeins of yarn for about a year and a half. They came as a kit with 2 full skeins of yarn and then 5 mini skeins. They are dyed by Hugh Loco, and they are in the I Can't Even kit that was originally dyed up for a shawl, the Surprise Party Shawl by Helen Stewart. But I decided that I wanted to use up these 2 skeins to make a cardigan. So anyway, they I just absolutely love this colorway. It's got a kind of a pinky peachy base, and then it's speckled with gold and deep green and red, and it's really pretty. And I think it's so fun that it's got a lot of color in there, but I still feel like it's a really neutral color that will go with a lot of things in my wardrobe. So I'm very excited about that. Now you can probably tell that there's a bit of differentiation between the 2 skeins, so I am alternating skeins every other row. And anyway, it's coming along nicely, but this pattern is very, like, you really have to concentrate. It's got a lot of areas in it where at the same time, you know that phrase when you're knitting along and it says at the same time do this thing, so do this thing, and then at the same time you got to do this other thing. Although I have to say that the pattern is very, very well written. It's very clear, but you just still have to concentrate. I just kind of want to show, if I can, this is a paid for pattern, so I don't want to give away anything, but I think maybe I can just hold it back a little bit. I just want to show you, yeah, you won't be able to see that. Okay, so this is the main instructions, but over on this side column, on every page so far, there's been this side column that has specific instructions for the different things that you need to do here. So like there's a special stitch and it's right here on the same page. And it just makes it so clear to be able to see everything at once. Anyway, like I said, I really, really need to concentrate, but still it is very well written. So the requirements, I had started to say, the requirements that I had for this was that I only have these 2 skeins. So I needed a pattern that that either didn't take a lot of yardage or that I could modify to be cropped more and to have shorter sleeves, as you know, I'm just going to try to use up as much of the yarn as I can. And so this one was made from the top down, and also I wanted it to be at a certain gauge that I knew I could get with fingering weight yarn. So anyway, it just met the requirements that I wanted, and I love the lacy pattern on the back of this. So here it is. So pretty. Now I have found that this lace is really difficult for me to be able to read. It's only a 4-row repeat, and you're only doing the lace pattern on the right side. So it's not difficult, but there have been, was it just one, or there was just one time that I got to the end of the lace section and I was off on my stitch count. I was 1 short. So then I just added a stitch, but because I went back and tried to check my work and I couldn't find a mistake, so I just added a stitch at the end of the row. But then I shouldn't have done that because it ended up getting worse after a few more rows. So I had to end up ripping back, which was, no, I tinked back because I did not want to rip out the lace. So I had to tink back, I think, 4 rows, which took, of course, a long time to unwork my stitches, but I did it and I'm back on track now, and I'm super happy about that. The increases for the shoulders, I think, are so nice. So here you can see this is the top of the shoulder seam, and then here's the shoulder increases, and I think it's just working up really beautifully. There's this little bit of lace, there's a little bit of a lace section that runs down the front, but I'm already done with that. It just goes down to like a little bit right here, and then it stops. I really love how this yarn is knitting up. I think it's beautiful. I love the speckles in it, and like I said, I just think it's going to go with so much. Oh, it did have a provisional cast on, you can see here with this waist yarn. So I'll go back and pick up the neckline later with that. I believe I'm using the recommended needle size. I got gauge with them. The gauge is 24 stitches to 4 inches. And yeah, I'm using the recommended needle size, which are US 6 4mm needles. So yeah, I'm loving this, but I don't want to get interrupted when I'm working on this. So I make sure that I can work on it at a time when the kids aren't going to be interrupting me or anything. So I usually work on it after they go to bed or something like that. But I think it's so much fun. It's really working up pretty quickly. I cast this on Mother's Day, and I haven't worked on it a ton because, like I said, I need to concentrate. So I'm happy with how much progress I've made on that so far. So that is, I think, all I have to say for that. So it is probably just going to be a cropped sweater. The original design goes down to a regular, like a hip length. Is there a better picture of it? Or is that the only one? Yep, that's the only one I have. You can kind of see. It's just like a regular, it goes down to the hip, and the sleeves go to the elbow. So I'm probably going to cut mine off right at my natural waist, which, more cropped. And I'm not sure if I'll be able to get that long of a sleeve, but I won't go any longer than that even if I can. This will be the longest I go, but I may make it even shorter on the sleeves because I want this to be a garment that I can wear in the summertime, mainly. So very excited about this project. And I'm excited to be able to use up this yarn because, like I said, I've had it for quite a while, and I'm excited to use it up. So my last work in progress is in a Me Made project bag. I made this using the Easy Drawstring tutorial by Erica Arndt on YouTube. I'll put it down below because I think I got that name mixed up again, but anyway. And in here is a project that I am making for my husband's grandmother. So the reason why I didn't record last week was because we had a funeral to attend and a visitation service because my husband's grandmother's sister passed away. This aunt was a very, very good friend to Chris's grandmother. They were, sisters, and they kept in contact with each other. They lived in the same town, and they got together at least every week, once a week, and they called every day. And so this is the last sibling of Chris's grandmother to pass away. She was the youngest of 7. And so that's just a little extra hard to lose your last sibling. And Chris's grandma has lost so many members of her family. She had 6 children, and she has lost 3 of them already. So she has had a lot of loss in her life. She's lost her husband as well. And so anyway, I just wanted to make her a prayer shawl to hopefully bring her some comfort during this hard time. So I cast this on the same day that Aunt Nyla passed away, and I decided to make the Salcombe shawl, which is a beautiful pattern by Hannah of Yarnia Designs. And I'm really, really loving working on this project. It is so easy and relaxing and beautiful. I'm using my own hand-dyed yarn for this project. The 2 colorways that I'm using are my Sparrow colorway, which is actually just renamed. I did have this named a different colorway name, but as I was knitting this project, I was just so reminded of the sparrows that we have outside, and it just is the colors of a sparrow, and so I wanted to name this Sparrow. I couldn't not, because I love bird watching, and so does Chris's grandma, and I thought it was way too fitting not to name it Sparrow. So the other colorway that I am using, the Sparrow colorway is on my Pitter Patter base, which is fingering weight, 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. And then the contrast color that I'm using is my Strength colorway. And that is on my Twinkle Toes base, so it has some gold stellina in there. It is 75% superwash merino, 20% nylon, 5% gold stellina. And it's just this deep chocolate brown. I really love it. And this is perfect for Chris's grandma. She's always wearing beautiful jewelry, glimmery, sparkly clothing, and this is perfect for her. And she also loves earth tones, so I really think she's going to like these colors. I really, really love this pattern. It's so beautiful, and like I said, easy to work up. There's tons of garter in here, so most of it is just completely mindless and relaxing, which is perfect for a prayer shawl, because the idea as you're knitting it, you want to be praying for that person, and yeah, it really is perfect for that. So I'm really, really loving it so far. I am using the recommended needles for this as well, which are US 4 3.5 millimeter needles. Oh, I also messed this up. I had to rip back this at least 4 rows, I think. I was just in this section I'm in right now, and I looked down a row and I looked like I had knit 2 together or something like that, which was so strange in garter stitch. Why would I knit 2 together? So I tried to ladder down to try to fix the stitches, and I could not fix it. I just had this huge hole, and I was like, what in the world? So I ended up ripping out the needles and ripping back. I thought, at least it's garter stitch. I can pick it up easily. I'm not in the lace section, thankfully. So I did that, and I could tell after I was ripping it out that I had ended up doing a short row. So I had been knitting along, and I must have put it down, and I picked it back up, and I worked on the wrong side, which I'm really surprised that I did that, but I guess it can happen. So I had to rip it out. I couldn't have fixed it otherwise. So anyway, but I was able to fix it. It wasn't too hard of a project. I'm not too far along yet. There's not too terribly many stitches on here yet. So I'm glad I was able to fix that. I also forgot to mention, I made a mistake on the Stripey Fine shawl too. When I was in that, well, maybe I should show you, just because I was so proud of myself for being able to fix it. I made a mistake on the lace section in this. Let's see, I won't be able to find the spot because I was able to fix it. I couldn't believe I actually was able to fix it. But I made a mistake at the very point. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Yeah. At the very point of one of these sections, I ended up doing the yarn overs like a few stitches over too far. And I was like, oh no, that's going to totally be visible to not have the point here, you know, in the middle. But I was able to rip it back, or just ladder down, I mean. I didn't have to rip it back. I just laddered down and fixed it. I really don't know how I did that. I just knit two together, and then I kind of reversed the knit two together because, you know, so it'd be on either side of this, and I picked up some things to make yarn overs. Anyway, it worked. I can't believe I did that. I can't believe it worked out. I was in shock. But it did, so yay. But that's a pretty easy lace section, unlike the lace in the sweater, the cardigan. That's a little bit more complex, I think, anyway. Trying to stay focused here. Okay, so I don't think there's anything else I have to say about this pattern. It's beautiful and I love it. I'm really loving lots of Hannah's designs lately. She's got a few sock patterns that I'm super excited to make. She's got another shawl that she showed off on her last podcast that should be coming out soon, and that's gorgeous. So you are doing an awesome job of designing, Hannah. You are very talented. So I'm very excited about that. I don't know that there's not really a huge rush on this. She doesn't know what's coming, and she won't get much use out of it in the summer months anyway, probably. So I'll just continue working on that when I can. And I actually also want to make a shawl for Chris's other grandma. My husband is in his mid-40s, and he still has both of his grandmothers living. Isn't he fortunate? Both of my grandmothers have already passed away. But his mom's mom is going to be turning 100 next month. That's incredible. That's just incredible. And you would never know it. You would never guess that she's 100 years old. Anyway, I would really like to make her a shawl for her birthday, even though they've said we're having a big party for her, of course. And on the invitation, they say, please don't bring any gifts, just bring cards. But I think she would really like a shawl, and, you know, it would be handy for her to have to wrap up in if she gets chilly. So I think she'd really appreciate it, and I would like to make her one. So I don't know. We'll see if I can make one in time for her birthday, which is, I think her party's on the 23rd of June. So I think I'm going to try to make one in like a DK weight so that it'll work up quickly. So that's my plan. So I probably should try to cast that on soon too, so that it can get done and I won't be stressed getting it done in time for her birthday. But anyway, that's all of the works in progress that I have made any progress on this week, or this last 2 weeks. So anyway, I have a few other things to share with you all. Every time I record, I like to share a set of 3 yarns that I think work well together from my Etsy shop, just to give you an idea of some color combinations from my shop. And this is the set I have picked for this week. And I really like them. It's kind of I keep holding them up and going, yeah, I like that, but it's a little bit different with that mint color on there, but I kind of like it. So anyway, one of these is new. This middle one is a new colorway that I really am excited about, but I'll go through the other 2 first. This is my fine gold colorway. So it's just a nice semi-solid tonal golden color. It's got a lot of nice tones in there. I like that one a lot. And this is, getting blown out a little bit, but this is my pure colorway, and it is just a solid light mint color. And the new colorway I'm so excited about is called Patience, and it has a light peach base, and then it's speckled with gold and brown. And as I've mentioned before, the brown color kind of breaks into oranges and blues. So you can see some little specks of orange and tiny bits of blue every once in a while as well. So I really love this new colorway. And I just thought these three looked really neat together. So all of my colorways are available on all 9 of my bases at all times and any quantity that you could need. And I'm happy to help you with any, if you want to see some different colorways together in a collage or something like that, I'm glad to work with you or recommend different color combinations. But I just like to show off a few samples of things that work well together every time I record a podcast. So I also have a few new additions to my clearance section. I have a few more, a couple weeks ago I showed off some mini skeins that were getting clearanced out, and I have a few more this week. So I have 4 colorways that have been recently discontinued, and I have a few mini skeins or hanks that are available in those colorways. I only have one of the With All Your Heart colorway available. So this is a bright pink base, and then it is speckled and painted with reds and burgundies and pinks. I have 4 of these, which is called Joyful Heart. It is a neutral base, and then it is painted and speckled with pink and gray. Dark gray, like charcoal gray. I have 4 of the Springs of Life colorway. This is has a bare base as well, and then it's painted with green, turquoise, teal, and bright blue, and then it's also speckled with some rust speckles. And the last one I have 4 of these as well. This is my Fountains of the Deep colorway, and this has a light turquoise base, and then it is painted with lots of different blue tones. So all of these mini skeins are on clearance for $5 each in my Etsy shop. If you are interested in any of them, go ahead and grab yourself some. So that's all I have to share with you. We have had, I've already mentioned that we had the funeral, so that of course was hard, but other than that, we've had a really good few weeks. I had a great Mother's Day. I don't know, it's been raining quite a bit, so the kids have been kind of stuck inside for many of the days, but that's okay really too. Sometimes, I like it when the kids can go out and play, but I love rainy days too, so it's okay. I try to find the silver lining every day. So anyway, I can't think of anything else that's been major that went on, but I hope you all have had a great few weeks, and I wish you all a great week ahead. Thank you so much for joining me. Bye.